So what are we going to talk about? I mean, I guess we're going to talk about the Rainmaker. So here's the thing: we're going through a big drought right now, right? Um, some places literally, but I'm talking about entrepreneurs and business owners around the world are like the weather has changed, right?
And really, even if you've worked in a job before, you're now in the rainmaker situation because you have to shift to create something different in your life. So if you're ready to step into that rainmaker role and you don't view yourself as an entrepreneur, but you realize that it's time for you to take control back over your destiny and over your income and step into that role where you are the rainmaker in the midst of this drought, then that's an important piece of the puzzle.
The Rainmaker is one. Have I ever told you about my group of superheroes that I'm forming?
Yeah,
So they're called the Unstoppables,
I remember.
and the Rainmaker is one of them. And
Oh,
the Rainmaker is this character that I mean, I don't know when I first heard about the idea of a Rainmaker. It was probably in a movie or a TV show from the 80s when I was a kid. Maybe a movie. Probably a movie would be the first time I had heard the term.
right.
Where there was like a corporate America situation or some kind of a sales floor, or some sort of a sales guy who had to go out and make it rain, right?
Right.
But the Rainmaker is such an interesting title for a person or a position because,
Or a role.
well, here's the thing. So one of the things that I studied in college was shamanism and cross-cultural shamanism, different types of shamanic and magical practices and ceremonies done throughout history around the
Right.
globe. And so I was looking at patterns, and in many, if not all cultures, at one point in time, the shaman, the mystic, and or the leader of the village or the primary voice of wisdom to the leader of the village or the tribe
Right.
was the Rainmaker, was the person that was in connection and had knowledge of mystical, magical understanding of the elements
Right.
of the natural world. And it was their job, it was their responsibility to make sure that the tribe survived, that if it was a migratory type of a culture, that they migrated in a place where their cattle would be able to eat enough grass and where they wouldn't be ravaged by predators or by natural disaster. Rainmakers and I mean rain dance in obviously in American Indian culture is a very well known thing in our day and age. And so the Rainmaker today, in an entrepreneurial business sense, is the one that brings home the bacon. Right? You go out and you make it rain. You bring the resources back. It's a magical thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think of rainmakers as salespeople,
I don't, but okay.
but well, that's the thing. That's the thing, is that if you go out and you make the sale, you make the kill, right? You bring home the resources. That's one way of doing it, but you can do a lot more, actually, if you think a little bit more like a farmer than a hunter, right? And you plant the seeds and you're really looking at it for the long term. So this is an interesting idea. So how do you think about rainmakers?
I think about Rainmaker as being responsible for the outcomes that you want to achieve in your professional life or business life, and whether you're the rainmaker in your own business or whether you're the rainmaker in a professional position, you are taking it upon yourself to be the driver, to be the person responsible for creating the outcomes that you want to see happen, empowering people to see things in a new way, empowering people to be their best version of themselves so that you can achieve the vision for the business, enrolling other people in your vision. All of that begins and ends with you. And if it's in a business situation, then obviously one of the focuses needs to be cash flow, needs to be, profitability, and doing so in a, smart way, doing so in a, just in a way that you're responsible for it. I never liked the hunter, gatherer type mentality either. And I only go along with some of the things like you eat what you kill because it's something that steps into people's minds and that they're familiar with. But I don't care for that kill or be killed mentality because it assumes that you're not acting in the best interest of your clients, of your company members, of your, the whole 9 yards. And to me, a rainmaker takes all of that into consideration and is acting in the best interest of the company, of their prospective customers or clients. And they look it upon themselves as it's their responsibility. It's like their duty to bring forth the rain and to do whatever it takes to shift and to whatever it takes to serve people and to serve the business and to really to create your vision, to like whatever the rainmaker's vision is for that bigger future, to take responsibility for not stopping until it's there, until they figure out what resources they got to put in place, who they got to hire, whether it's human resources or whatever, to create what they got to create.
Dude, this is so awesome.
What's that?
Because I just decided to Google what is a rainmaker.
Okay.
And so, according to Google and the dictionary on Google, like what it says now, it's great because we just talked about both of them. Number one is a person who attempts to cause rain to fall, either by rituals or by scientific techniques, such as seeding clouds with crystals. We didn't really touch on that part, but still kind of cool. Informal North American is a person who generates income for a business. Oh, that's weird. A person who generates income for a business or organization by brokering deals or attracting clients or funds. Right? So
that's more of the commission sales point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, there are lots of different ways to think about it. But when it comes right down to it, in your experience, just your personal experience, Joshua, whether you were acting as the rainmaker or whether someone else in the business was or whether you were collaborating, what are some ways that have worked for you, and I have some ways as well, probably they're similar, that you found to make it rain when you're in a financial drought? Because the reality is, with all the craziness that's going on, at this point, it's an excuse, okay? Because things are changing, things are weird, businesses are weird, the game has changed, yes. And that's always the case. We just have a few more balls in the air right now than normal all at once.
Yeah, I think, I'll answer your question in a second, but I think where we get stuck as entrepreneurs is that, or small business owners, or, however this fits into your daily routine, is that we forget when we were in rainmaker mode, and we may still consider ourselves mentally as the rainmakers. But what we've really done is we are now in either the duplicator mode or in the fixer mode, and we don't recognize that we're just trying to keep the plate spinning as opposed to creating the results that we take responsibility for. So when something like the pandemic or whatever you want to talk about, like, forces a huge shift immediately
in your business.
Yeah, in your business or in your life, professionally, whatever professionally means to you, like however your profession, and entrepreneur is a profession, then if you're not used to living as rainmaker, and I'm just speaking for myself, that it takes me a while to transition back and realize, hey, wait a minute. What's happened now is that I've got to take responsibility again for creating new results underneath this new dynamic of whatever the new situation is.
This is a really good point. So let me just make, I'm sure everyone has their own experience of this, but personally, we've been dealing with, 2020 for however many months now, 2020
For
pandemic,
all of it.
right? We've all been in it. Personally, everything since the pandemic has had a much, much, much less impact on my business than my family kind of going sideways and divorce beginning and separating from my wife and going into part-time spending with my kids and my family life blowing
That
up.
situation.
That was a crisis that totally blew all my circuits and has
Right.
taken a while for me to get back on my feet and get clear and get back in Rainmaker mode.
Yeah.
The pandemic I didn't even notice, honestly, and financially as well. The impact that the pandemic has had on my business is much less impactful than the impact that my divorce has had on my business.
Right, because you've been shifting all along into this
Right.
way of doing business, so that
Not
didn't
new. Yeah.
that didn't create a
Stress.
a situation of uncertainty for you.
Right. I mean,
it just
not
was
in
a
the
new.
same way that it is for a lot of people right now. Right.
Exactly. And so I think that's the bigger issue to recognize is that shift backwards, or if you've never been in that mode before, realizing that, underneath whatever's causing it, call it the pandemic or whatever's causing it, it's time now to shift. And, to step into Rainmaker mode if you want to take responsibility for creating if you don't like the results that you're seeing in your life right now, if you don't like the situation that you're living, then it's time to take control back over it so that you can create a different situation regardless of what the external environmental inputs are that have thrown you into that, oh my God, I've got to, refocus here.
So crisis or perceived crisis drives us into fight or flight mode. And we all have different things that set us off.
Mm-hmm.
And we all get set off in different ways to different degrees. But when we go into fight or flight mode, one of the things that happens that isn't really talked about fight or flight is paralysis. It's
Mm-hmm.
deer in the headlights. And if you get caught in paralysis, if you're caught in pandemic paralysis right now, for example, realize that it's not about what's happening. It's about the way you're reacting to it. And if that's paralyzing you, be aware that that's paralyzing you. And if you're ready, realize you have to change the way you're thinking about it and responding to some of this stuff and start being more proactive instead of reactive. Because, deer in the headlights, you're going to get hit. That's not
Right.
what you want. You do want to flee, run away, and find something different, or fight, double down, dig deep, and go after it full force, right?
And here's the thing, because the problem that I foresee, at least I did for myself, is that you almost can't see it when you're in the middle of it. You don't believe that you're
out, your brain shut down,
that you've got paralysis and that you're frozen, that you're deer in the headlights. And it's only in looking back on it that you can, oh yeah, that's where I was, right? So for us to sit here and say, when we're not in that same situation that you are, or mental state of mind, for us to say, now all you got to do is, recenter and focus and dig deep and fight. Well, that we have access to that, right? So here's the thing. If you don't believe right now that anything that we're saying, if you don't buy into it and you want to give pushback, cool. Awesome. The thing that I've learned to do for myself is to enjoy that space between the stimulus and the response, and give myself the ability to think about my thoughts and to think about what's triggering them, so that I can take a step back from the situation and look at the situation for what it is and say, all right, could I choose something different? Could I see something slightly different? It doesn't have to be like this complete, all the way to, breakthrough and making shit happen and where I'm feeling awesome. But maybe you go from being paralyzed to saying, well, maybe I'm just pissed that I'm put here, because being pissed feels a whole lot better, and it can spark action to move forward. It feels a whole lot better than feeling depressed or apathetic or like hopeless, right? So I just want to urge people to apply what it is for yourself in whatever your given situation is. Where I think that, right now, Telman, I mean, like Telman and I both have shifted back into Rainmaker mode, and in collaboration together. And I can honestly say that I've been dancing around Rainmaker mode prior to us getting back together. And it just so happens that our decision to start partnering and collaborating on things happened almost at the exact same moment of the
it was like
quarantine.
We started talking about it like 3 weeks before things hit,
Yeah. So it just so happens that it's been the spark, but what's been the evolution for me is reminding myself of who I really am, and stop playing small, and getting back to living from my vision. What am I going to create? Where is it that I say I want to go? And let's create that. And let's stand for the vision. Let's not deal from the circumstances of like the problems. Let's stand for what we want to have happen. And that's the crux of when I can tell when I'm living in that place of Rainmaker. And then just on the spiritual side, just for a second, since you talked about shamans and all of that with Rainmakers, there's a very interesting video. It's now probably 15 years old now. I think it's Greg Braden, when he did the matrix of something, anyway, where he talks about this concept of praying for rain versus pray rain. Like praying rain, like when, and this Rainmaker came in and basically went in there and he just refocused, and they were a place in a drought situation for like catastrophic drought for extended period of time. I don't know. You can get all the details by looking it up, but just search for Pray Rain on YouTube, Greg Braden. And he gives all the stats of this, but basically in 2 minutes, the guy came in, he prayed rain. He didn't pray for rain. He prayed rain. He said, okay, we're done. And then he went on his way. And like within 24 hours, they went from a drought situation to like flood situation. Mm-hmm. And the thing that he was pointing out was that he wasn't focused in on praying for divine matrix. Thank you. And I want to look over just to see who said that. Yeah, Michael, thank you. Awesome. The divine matrix. Yeah, Greg Braden. Anyway, the point is that he smelled the rain if it was already here. He envisioned it being here. In his mind, there was no difference between the lack of rain, praying for it. He wasn't waiting for it to come. He prayed rain. He connected with that being the case. And I think that Rainmakers in the business sense, in the entrepreneurial sense, do the same thing. We don't worry about, when we're in that mode, we create from nothing. We create from thin air. We just make shit happen and things.
Well, it's very much, it boils down to the idea of assuming the sale in a lot of ways. It's just, you're assuming the reality that you're creating is the reality that you're creating instead of begging for something other than what you've got. Right?
Right.
And that comes back down to the same, we were talking about this morning on our morning check-in about what happens when you have desperation written across your forehead and how that affects your sales or your ability to attract friends.
Because you're making decisions
boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, business partner, customers, clients, subscribers. Yeah, if you're just all like, please help me. It's good luck. Somebody might every now and again, but like,
where do I sign up to be a part of that parade? No, I don't think so. Like, how can I hang out with you? That's not fun.
That's right. So as an entrepreneur right now, in your own times of uncertainty, right? What is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now in growing your business or growing your idea, right? Where are you personally stuck? Where I'm genuinely curious. Folks that are watching, and this might be hard to articulate. Maybe it'd be easy to articulate. It might be embarrassing to articulate. And so if it is, and you don't want to say it publicly, please shoot me a private message and let me know what's on your mind and what you're struggling with mentally or emotionally with what's happening right now. Because Joshua, you and I know this as well as anybody else, is we live in the information age. There's no shortage of knowledge. There's no shortage of information. Almost
Yeah, we're all already smart enough.
almost every skill, tutorial, walkthrough, training for almost everything imaginable is available for free online somewhere if you want to take the time to find it. Okay? And if you don't want to take the time to find it and you don't want to have to sift and sort through information, you buy it, and you're buying convenience, right? You're buying access to better information faster, so you don't have to spend the next 10 years like
or more custom to your situation,
totally.
that more adaptable.
You're buying time though, one way or the other. You're making it happen faster.
Yeah, leverage.
But if we know, and we all do know this, we all know that the information is out there. All we have to do is search for it. What is it that's really stopping us from taking that next step to bring our business where we want it to go? For some people, that's starting their very first business. For other people, it's moving their business from offline to online or adding an online component to it that they've been thinking about for years but haven't had to do it. But now they have to do it. They don't have any choice, or the business is going to die.
Right.
Other people want to do it. They've wanted to start an online business, but they've had a job. And their job has given them the safety and the security that they didn't want to work nights and weekends on starting their business. But now they lost their job. And now they're like, I don't want to go back to another crappy job. I'm going to start my business. And yet there are other people who've been online for a while, just kind of like skimming by.
Michael's, I don't know if you've seen Michael's whole comment, the first one that he put down, Mike Millman, he's got some brilliant stuff here, and then he just added in a second ago that finding an acceptable alliance for alliances has been the most elusive factor for him, because he enjoys that rainmaker stuff within organizations, I'm assuming, within a consulting role or a freelancing role. And he also mentions that he owns emailrainmakers.com, and boy, that is an awesome domain name.
That's right. Michael, when you say finding an acceptable alliance, what about that has been elusive? What challenges are you running into in terms of finding alliances? I'm curious. Like, what about that is hard for you so far?
And I'm going to spitball and guess at this, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong by the time the delay gets over to the Facebook. But what I'm gathering or guessing at is that it's like the red light button syndrome. Like when you can be brilliant off camera, and as soon as that red light goes live, like we become a blithering idiot. And what I mean, like where it crosses over for me with this is like, maybe is it because that you just do your stupid human trick inside of another organization for another organization versus for yourself, for the personal, does that drive? Because I've run into that personally myself, where I'm a lot more objective and able to create objective results fast for clients. And then I overthink and rethink and ponder and get into that analysis of paralysis mode when it comes to my own stuff, second guessing it. So I'm just wondering if that's it, or if it's something completely different and I don't have any clue what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll respond to that as well, is that I don't have paralysis analysis. That's not a problem for me, for the most part. I'm very occasionally, once a year, I might be think for a few days about something, but that's not at all where I get stuck. Where I get stuck is starting too many things, getting too excited about too many things, and just working on them completely independently and not having any outside feedback, guidance, or accountability to bring my projects to completion. And so I've definitely found that having partners or extremely high-paid, highly competent employees that act like partners works incredibly well for me in order to, as far as alliances within building my team. But there are lots of different types of alliances. There's also joint venture alliances or strategic alliances where you're doing cross promotions or you're promoting each other's stuff in interesting ways or starting new companies. So there's lots of forms of alliances.
Michael just responded, and he said that I completely missed the mark. So I'll acknowledge that that was a poor guess, but it did bring up an interesting topic discussion. So now we can dig into the full rest of his comment on how to explain it.
Yeah, so Michael says, good question. I have specific criteria that have to be met. Usually, it's the other side that's burdened by ego and doesn't see beyond wanting to do everything themselves or doesn't see the value in doing an alliance that's not a higher situation. No, Joshua, I have no fear of the red light. It's a much longer conversation that's not suitable for typing in chat, to be honest. I totally get that, Michael. If you ever want to chat about that, please reach out. We may be able to help you. Maybe not. Hard to say. It really depends on what you're looking for and what the obstacles are. But if you want to look at options, please reach out by all means. But thank you for sharing and giving us some insight and your perspective on where things are at. What about the rest of you guys? Where are you stuck? What's holding you back? What's keeping you down? What's chaining you to the ground? Really, what's giving you a hard time right now with what you're dealing with in your life and your business? Where are you not able to grow as quickly or as powerfully as you want to? And
how does the Rainmaker topic show up? Like, do you feel like you have access to being the Rainmaker, to shifting?
I would like to talk about some actual Rainmaker strategies that have worked for us.
Okay.
But before I do, or before we go into that, I want to let everybody know that one day, tomorrow, we have a very cool private meeting and training that we're doing all about this topic, specifically making the shift from offline to online in your business and or career, depending on where you're at, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a business person, or whether you're a salesperson of some sort. If you are in a situation where you know it's time to make that shift and really take advantage of what's available to you online, to get out to a wider number of people, to connect with a much larger audience, to have a large group of prospects who are ready and waiting to hear from you, to do business with you on a daily basis, then I think you're going to be really excited about what we're going to share with you tomorrow night. You can go to www.etgworkshops.com, etgworkshops.com. Boom! That's it. Right there. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. ETG Workshop.
And by the way, you don't have to worry about www dot anymore. I've fixed it.
You can even skip the www and go straight to the ETG.
If you want to get right to the good stuff.
ETG. Feel free to go and join us there. And we're actually going to do a go-to webinar training for the first time.
Despite the fact that it says Zoom.
Oh, it doesn't. I changed that.
Oh, you changed it? Cool.
Yeah. Zoom was all weird when we were setting this thing up. And so I used a GoToWebinar account that anyway, it's funny. So pardon the technical weirdness. I think it'll be great. We're going to have a great GoToWebinar workshop tomorrow.
I'm going to have to get schooled on how to be a panelist and a co-host in GoToWebinar all over again, because I've lost that gray cell.
That's right. And I'm sure it's changed since I'm used it too. So I'm sure we should log on 15 minutes early and see how that goes. So
Okay.
etbworkshops.com if you want to join us for a live exclusive training where we're going to be sharing with you strategies and techniques to make the shift from going from offline to online with your business right now in these weird times. I think you're going to love it, and you're probably going to get an awful lot out of it if you've been thinking about along those lines for a while. So please feel free to go and register if that sounds like it's up your alley. Rainmaker strategies.
You want to lead?
Strategies. So yeah, let's just complete. It's not going to be hard because we've both been doing this stuff for a long time. Let's talk about the things that have nothing to do with COVID in any way, shape, or form. Right? How do you make it rain? What are some ways that you've made it rain or you've seen it rain in crappy situations when sales were down, when you lost half your staff, when stupid shit happens? What are some Rainmaker moves that have worked?
I look for my underutilized assets in my business and leverage them again. And so, your email list built properly and so that you have a deep bonded, hyper responsive relationship with at least 1,000 people in your, the 1,000 true fans principle. But when you have an email list that's built that way, that they're excited to hear from you, that they're anticipating it, there really isn't anything that you can't weather through to create literally money on demand, profits on demand. And thus the name that I came up with I actually came up with it in 1999, I believe.
1999, baby!
I didn't turn it into, Net Profits on Demand didn't become a product or a system until late 2002 into 2003. But the point is that doing it that way and looking, and maybe you don't have an email list that's built and you got 1,000 true fans or whatever, but the point is that if you have any kind of assets, and we all have these assets, whether we're in our professional life, we just don't take time to take note of them and what those assets are. So, sometimes our assets are connections, our knowledge, our skill sets, our stupid human tricks, and how we do what we do, but we don't acknowledge that those are assets. And so I just look for areas that I can immediately leverage something that is under leveraged and, that has been sitting dormant. Now that I've taught myself to become good at finding those underutilized assets in a business and how to leverage them quickly. So that's a skill that I've worked on for, 10 years to get really good at spotting all that. And if you don't have that, what I would recommend is that you just take an inventory. What do you do really well? What's your skill sets? What are things that, that everybody goes to you for? What's some subject that people go to you for? Because that, digging in there, for me at any rate, reminds me of who I really am, what I'm capable of creating, what I can do. And so the easy way to do it, like if you're a business and you're shifting from offline to online, and that we're like Talman said, we're putting aside the pandemic situation, but you need to make it rain again, and you need to do it in the online world. Well, the easy way to do that is to start gathering up your list, your in-house list of buyers, list of people that you've suppliers, people that you've interacted with, and create that in that way.
Whoa. Everything just went crazy there for a second. So speaking of business assets, right, there are a lot of different ways that you can do this. And basically I was going to say exactly the same thing. The way you make it rain is by tapping into unused parts of your business or other people's business that you're collaborating with, working with together. So let's just be specific. If you have a mailing list, if you have the names and addresses of your clients, of your customers, or of anyone that's entered a contest within your business in the past, any situation where you've legally, morally, and ethically gathered the mailing addresses of your customers, your clients, or your fans, your followers, depending on the nature of your business, that's an asset and it's exceptionally valuable. Okay? The same is true of the email addresses of those people, specifically customers / clients, people who've paid you. I don't recommend that you do the gather all of the business cards you've collected in the last 20 years and manually type them into MailChimp and mail those people. No, that's really dumb.
Unless when you pick up the business card, you can like spot, oh yeah, this is the relationship, this is the depth, like it's just a reminder of that person that you haven't talked to in ages that is already a good contact. I mean, but otherwise I am in complete agreement with you, Telman.
But that's not to say that you can't reach out personally. Hey, I just found this old business card. I can't believe we haven't talked. It was awesome when we met 7 years ago. I remember the conversation about top hats, and I really want to buy one from you sometime. Are you still making those?
Yeah.
Whatever, right? And so...
you bring up an excellent point. I think that when people think online, they think I want to systemize everything. I want to automate everything. And when you just talked about you can reach out to them individually rather than through an autoresponder, that's the part that I think people miss. Yeah. And, just like a genuine conversation that is truly one-to-one to get there, what's going on? Let's, and establish a relationship. And if it makes sense, then ask them for permission to add them to your list for some subject.
Again, if you're trying to expand your network and you feel like you're in a little bubble and you don't know too many people, right? This is where you can grab those old business cards. You can go and make a pile of them on your desk or your coffee table if you don't have a desk, and you can and you can do this on your laptop or you can do it on your phone, right? And whatever, and you can go and make friends with those people on Facebook and you can make friends with them on LinkedIn and you can say, hey, I just found your business card and we reminded how awesome you were. I wanted to connect on LinkedIn. How is it going? Right? And you're going to ask them about their life and their business and what they've got going. And sooner or later, they're going to ask you what you've got going on and you're going to tell them about your awesome list that you're building. And that's the way, but it takes time, right? It's a lot of time. It's worth it in many cases, but we're talking about deeper assets in your business, though that is an example of an asset. Those connections and that contact information is an asset, but you don't want to load it up into an autoresponder and then start spamming these people. That's not going to work out for you, right?
You said something else earlier that I want to just pull back to the forefront because I want to make sure that you mentioned leveraging other people's assets, and that just reminded me of Mark Joyner's concepts of integration marketing. Right. I remember when
hey,
Dan
Gene,
and I, what's up, Gene? I remember Dan and I, when we were working and building all sorts of, making all sorts of magic together and in the process of building a $20 million a year business together. One of the things that we noticed that was a trend that was an underutilized asset that we didn't own was that the trend was that everybody was doing huge launches on ClickBank,
right? And
for like between a $30 and $50 ebook,
yeah.
And they were doing like obscene numbers on their launches on these things, like they would do 10,000, 20,000 units, but that would be it.
No continuity program because it was like their first one, or they had other things to do, or whatever. Right?
It didn't exist back then, Telman. Like literally, there was no such thing as a one-click upsell in their mind. It didn't exist. The idea of the back end didn't exist. So what we did is I took a proven model that I was working on for Dan that I created, and we attached and said, hey, how about this? When you do your sales, just put this on the back end of it.
Right.
Upsell here, and we'll give you, I think we started a 50-50 commission, and we'll take care of the merchanting of the sale, and we'll just send you checks.
Right.
And the interesting thing is that it was like we blew up overnight for about a 6-month period until everybody started to figure out wait a minute, this is all the money that I was leaving on the table.
Right.
And then, of course, they went on their own way and started doing it. But that's a prime example of just being able to leverage. And your, not to jump to too many gears here, but your list crusade. With your modified co-reg model of developing, you took something that was part of your stupid human trick skill set, i.e. making really high effective converting squeeze pages that actually brought people in the right way.
But I want to pause for a second. That's true, but I want to point out that wasn't my skill set. That was Joe Lavery's skill set. Okay, he designed that squeeze page. He wrote the headline formula. He came up with the fonts.
Cool.
I didn't know how to, so he was working on my team, and it was his skill, and we were able to still. It was
compounding, right? I mean, so it's the leveraging other people's assets times, to the nth degree, right?
Yeah.
It is cubed, because what you did was you leveraged Joe Lavery's ideas by taking it to other people. And I don't think that Joe had the idea to do it the way that you did it. Now,
no, not at all. Right.
The two of you together collaborated on it, and you created wins for everybody that you built these pages for, and huge wins for yourself, because you got the ability to bring in new, fresh blood to your own list in a way that wasn't like traditional co-reg that was just junk traffic.
Right. So, and if you're just starting out, this might be a little hard to wrap your head around. The key here is that when we talk about assets in your business, step one is these could be in other people's business. And we're talking about reaching out. So another asset is, for example, this for a lot of people isn't such a big deal anymore. But at one point in time, there were a ton of people who had websites that got a crap load of traffic because of natural search engine optimization, and they got lucky. They happened to build out a website on such and such a topic. They got ranked at the top of Google, of Yahoo, of whatever. Right. And for years, we're getting millions of visitors every year. Okay. Traffic is an asset if you've got it. Okay. I mean, if you don't have it, well, it's still valuable, but it's not an asset if you don't have it. And so your email list is an asset. Your mailing list is an asset. Your phone number list is a huge asset. You can do text messages. You can do voice broadcast messages to your phone number list. Okay. And then you can use all of those things to create new assets. Like if you have those types of things, then you can create a Facebook group. Like if you have those types of things, now you can launch a YouTube channel. Like if you have all those types of things, now you can start building your followings on other channels. Or maybe you have a huge YouTube following, or maybe you have a huge Twitter following, or maybe you have a huge Instagram following. Those are assets that you can use to tap into to jumpstart everything, right?
The first 50 million that I made online over the course of from 99 through 2002. And when I say I made it, it was, a team of people. But the way that we did it was 100% other people's assets. And we developed some skills. And one of the skills that I had was conversion. And one of the skills that my partners had was driving traffic, buying the right type of ads, and building at the time it was an incentivized traffic machine based around 1 million, 5 million free lotto pick system. But we used that, and then we went out to clients that had great products that didn't know how to sell the products and services across multiple industries. And we just said, hey, we'll take it upon ourselves to sell your widget, provided, and we'll spend the money to sell it. We're going to give you the customer. And when we started with it, the deal was, we're going to make you $1 for your widget, and you're going to give us back 50 cents. But you're going to make the dollar first. Now, keep in mind, this was in 99. In 2000, there was no such thing as Google AdWords. There was no such thing as affiliate networks. That didn't exist. The CPA networks, CPA as a concept didn't get created there. Some say that our media department was responsible for creating the CPA trend in 99, 2000, 2001, because we ultimately ended up working on a CPA basis, a performance basis. Anyway, the point is that everything that we did was performance based, but we leveraged what we did best. We leveraged our skill set, and that we were able to then, we figured out a back end. We figured out that we didn't want to be the ones to sell the back end, at least initially. So we subcontracted that out to a third party, to several third parties. We eventually built an entire company around that to supply to do that once we figured it out. But the point is that it's so easy to find people that have things, but it starts with have assets that you can leverage, but it starts with you understanding what you bring to the table and how you can orchestrate it. Tellman didn't have to know how to build squeeze pages, but he saw an opportunity. He saw what was happening and what Joe created, and he saw an opportunity that, like how many other people that have great traffic like Tellman, but he spotted it based upon his skill set and being able to drill down. So when you go, that's the quintessential, in my opinion, that's a quintessential Rainmaker, right? You're looking to leverage it. So how that plays out in your life is as individual as you are. It's unique. And so sometimes it takes somebody that is outside the situation to spot what your strengths are and to spot where you can, where, like, holy shit, do you realize that you do this and I don't know anybody else that can do this magic trick, whatever that might be, right? And they don't know that. And then all of a sudden you say, well, like, and you could be the one that just says, well, if you combine this to here, like if in Joe Lavery's case, well, if we did this and combine it over here, do you realize what we could do with it? Or what I think we could do with it? Holy shit. Let's try it.
Well, so this is great because we're talking about alliances and Rainmakers all at the same time right now. And we are going to have to wrap up in a couple of minutes, guys.
Yeah,
so
if you
like what we're talking about here, go to etgworkshops.com, register, and join us tomorrow night. And we're going to be talking about making the shift from offline to online.
And maybe, if you need some of that outside perspective to start to evaluate what your stupid human tricks are in light of, leveraging either your assets or other people's unutilized assets.
Right.
There might be an opportunity for you to have a conversation with us too.
That's absolutely true. And so when you're thinking about this, as an entrepreneur, especially if you're a new entrepreneur or a new internet entrepreneur specifically, you're going to encounter a great deal of frustration. Okay? And that's not going to end anytime soon. Sorry to burst your bubble. So you're going to encounter frustration, and you're going to find areas where you try something and fail, and you try something and fail, and you try something and fail, and you're going to feel inadequate, and you're going to doubt yourself, and it's going to suck, and you're not going to know if you can do it. And the difference between someone that succeeds and someone that fails isn't whether or not they encounter insurmountable frustration. Okay? We all do.
Yeah, that's inevitable.
The question is, when you encounter it, will you remember the words that I'm about to tell you? Okay? And if you remember when you encounter that frustration and overwhelm that you're feeling, there are about 100,000, maybe 1 million people on the planet right now, at least, that are feeling exactly the same way that you are. And if you focus not on solving that problem yourself, but you focus on finding someone else who's already solved that problem, you have solved that problem. So what I mean by this is, when you're frustrated, when you're pissed off, when you're beating your head up against the wall, when you want to kill yourself, step back and be like, okay, there's 100,000 other people who want to kill themselves right now. Who's solved this freaking problem? Let's look for that person. You find them, and maybe you take a course by them, or you read an ebook by them, or you watch a video by them, or you buy their program, or you hire them as a coach or a mentor, or you hire them on your team. But whatever it is, that's the solution. That's the moneymaker. That's the freaking goose that lays the golden eggs. when you're able to pull your head out of it enough to realize that the frustration that you are experiencing is your guiding light. It is your true north toward the solution. But it's hard to see when you're stressed, frustrated, freaked out, under pressure, don't have enough money, whatever. There are a million things that can go sideways. Just remember that frustration is the fuel that's going to help jumpstart your business to the next level. And there probably is more than one person that has solved that problem on the planet already. And they're waiting to hear from you.
I know that we got to wrap, but so many things just came to mind. And the two things that I want to say is that maybe it's a combination. Number one, it could be a combination of things that you put together in a unique way about two people, and maybe they kind of had it right. And then you combine their two ideas and add your own twist to it. And all of a sudden, pop, there's something that will be the breakthrough that everybody, well, not everybody, but that your people, that you can lead them to success.
Exactly.
The second thing this is a concept that, I'm such a big fan of, and it's such a strong influence over my life in business and marketing is Gary Halbert. And one of the things Gary used to do is he would go to the library. Well, first of all, he would look through the SRDS and find a hungry marketplace of people that have already demonstrated the need or the value to spend money to solve a problem. Then he would go to the library and look up every single book that he could find on the topic. And he did this multiple times in multiple different ways. But the one that, we should talk about this sometime in the future, but the Betty Adams letter, that was like a $10 million success story almost overnight. And it was just a breakthrough. And all it was him getting passionate about creating this collaborative, problem solving about losing weight and weight loss. And he put together in his own words all of the other people's ideas around it, and he put it into his own, manual, so to speak, and he sold that as a solution.
No, it's pretty awesome, right? All right, so we do need to go. I need to jump on a training call with my assistant Marie. She knows I'm going to be a couple minutes late, but I want to ask you, I think, 5 questions that not that I want to ask you, but that I want you to ask yourself about where you're at with your business. If you're stuck, answering these 5 questions will either get you unstuck or it will make you abundantly clear on where you need more clarity. So if you get these questions answered, you're going to be able to move forward at a much more rapid rate. If you already have them answered, you're probably cooking with fire. So I'm going to pop them in the chat, and I'm going to just repeat them to you. We're going to talk with you about them in the upcoming trainings. So again, join us on etgworkshops.com for our training this Thursday evening. And I want you to think about these questions just as a way of wrapping up this training. So number 1 is, what are you selling? Okay. And lots of people like to give the snarky answer that they're selling hope or whatever. And that may be true. You are selling an emotional response. But seriously, if you can't tell me what you're actually selling, then we're going to have a hard time selling it. So are you selling potato chips? Maybe your potato chips are hope in a bag, and that's great. But are you selling potato chips? Is that where you're at? Are you trying to sell hope or potato chips or potato hope chips? What are you selling? 2, who are you selling it to? Right? And this is, what's your niche? Who's your tribe? Who's your market? Who are your people? Right? Who's your audience? This is when I say, what are you selling? If that stops you, if you can't answer, I'm selling potato chips, then get that clear. Number 2 is, who are you selling it to? I'm selling to people who are hungry. No, you're not. Because not everybody's going to eat your freaking potato chips, whether you like it or not. Who loves your potato chips? Who buys them? Are they pimple-faced teenage boys? Probably. And their adult counterparts. Number 3, where are you going to find them? And this may mess you up. This is, where are you going to find the people that you're selling to? So,
where are they already hanging out?
I'm going to give you a more practical example that's not all weird. BMWs. Okay, maybe you're a car dealership owner. Maybe you sell cars. either way. What are you selling? I'm selling BMWs. Who are you selling them to? I'm selling them to golfers. There are golf courses all over the place in my area, and people love to golf around here. I'm a big golfer, and most of my BMW buying clients are golfers because I always talk about golf with them. Great. Number 3, where are you going to find them? Well, a lot of them walk onto my lot, and the other ones, I find them on the golf course. Playing golf, or they walk on to buy a BMW. Okay, well, that's okay. That's okay. That could use a little work, especially if we're going to build this thing online and get you some get you some scalability. I'd suggest that maybe you need another traffic source. So in the online marketing side of things, where are you going to find them? Really, what that comes down to is what's your traffic source, right? This one can be really hard if you haven't figured it out. This is where you really have to look at your business model. Number 4 is, how are you going to sell it to them? What's the medium by which you're going to sell it to them? Are you going to sell it to them in a face-to-face conversation? Are you going to be able to sell it to them in face-to-face over Skype, long distance? Are you going to sell it to them with a sales letter? Are you going to sell it to them with a sales video? Are you going to sell it to them with a funnel? Are you going to sell it to them with a webinar? What is the medium by which you're going to make the sale? And interestingly, but not surprising, because I did add this one in when we were talking about it, is what are your existing business assets that you can use to get this jump started? Okay. What are the pieces to the puzzle that you already have placed based on what we were talking about today that you could use to start making more sales immediately? What do you got? Whether they're actively being used or whether they're things that you've neglected for a while. Answer those 5 questions, and your engine is started, and we're ready to get you moving, right? But until those questions get answered, there are going to be some obstacles in your way, and we want to get those answered. That's the idea. Joshua, you look like you have a lot to say right now.
The only thing that I was going to add here is that I would like to get Dan Kushel to join us on a future discussion on this, because he's got an awesome process for ferreting out exactly, what are you selling, who are you selling it to, what's your unique positioning, and the communication around it. It's just a really cool, profound process that he's been working on refining for himself, and that he works on with clients. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. The way that he thinks about it and the way that he trains on it. And I might add that, for his own use and his own businesses, he's been working to refine it himself personally for his own messaging, for years to fine tune it and get it tighter and tighter and tighter. But it just struck me that basically all 5 of the things that you're talking, well, maybe the first 4, he really could add tremendous value if he's willing to, walk people through a variation of this that I think would be extremely valuable.
Awesome. This gives me a good idea. Oh, how cool would it be if we could it'd be hard, but what if we could make these multiple choice questions? Could be good. All right, guys. Join us tomorrow night, etgworkshops.com. It's going to be awesome. Go register now. And, by the way, you're going to get the opportunity to ask yourself some more very thought-provoking questions with the platform assessment tool. Okay, so after you register for tomorrow's workshop, on the next page, you're going to see 2 buttons. One button is going to bring you through the platform assessment, and you're going to want to answer those questions to get more clarity on exactly where your business is at when it comes to building your audience and building your platform. Number 2 is there's a link to the Art of Email Marketing Facebook group that if you're not already a member there, you're definitely going to want to join. So look for those 2 big buttons on the thank you page after you register, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow evening. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Talman.
All right. Bye-bye.